Distinguished colleagues, welcome to the informal briefing on the preparations for the 61st session of the Commission for Social Development. The session, of course, will be held from Monday, February 6th to Wednesday, 15th of February next month. Today's briefing is intended to help facilitate the preparations for the upcoming session, and I'm pleased to convene the briefing in my capacity as the chair for the Commission's 61st session. Allow me to highlight a number of procedural and organizational matters, after which Ms. Daniela Bas, Director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, will provide us with additional information on the proposed substantive work of the Commission. We also have with us the Secretary of the Commission, Ms. Rachel Stenholmes, who can also respond to any procedural and administrative questions that you might have. After the briefing, I will invite delegations to comment and pose any questions that arise. Members wishing to take the floor should, of course, complete the form that has been posted on the chat board. And of course, I will now turn to the subject of today's informal briefing. Dear colleagues, on the proposed organization of work, as delegations may know, the provisional annotated agenda for the session contained in document E/CN.5/2023/1 has been issued in all official languages. The proposed organization of work is included in the annex to the same document and is also available in an informal matrix format. These documents are available on the Commission's website. Taking into account the improved situation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, and given that the work modalities at the UN headquarters have largely returned to established arrangements, as well as based on comments and feedback received from member states, the Bureau proposed that the 61st session take place fully in person. All formal meetings of the Commission will be held in Conference Room 4. Pursuant to Economic and Social Council decision of 2022/327 on the priority theme of the 61st session of the Commission, the priority theme of this year's session will be creating full and productive employment and decent work for all as a way of overcoming inequalities to accelerate the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Colleagues, on the panel discussions and interactive dialogues, in order to produce a constructive outcome of the Commission this year, there will be a high-level panel discussion on the priority theme, which will take place on the afternoon of Monday of 6th of February. This will be an excellent opportunity for the Commission and key stakeholders to engage in an interactive dialogue on identifying effective policies to create full and productive employment and decent work for all as a way of overcoming inequalities to accelerate the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The panel will focus on policies and strategies that have proven to be successful in creating more inclusive, equitable, and adaptable labor markets at the global, regional, and national levels, as well as policies that seek to create employment and decent work in a new sustainable and growing sectors to overcome inequality. Given the importance of the priority theme, I urge all members of the Commission to send high-level representation to the panel discussion. This is very important due to the importance of the theme this year. The Secretary General's report on the priority theme has been issued as document E/CN.5/2023/3. In addition to the high-level panel discussion on the priority theme, 5 interactive discussions will be held as follows. First, a ministerial forum on the priority theme will be convened on the morning of Tuesday of February 7th. The ministerial forum will be an opportunity to exchange national and regional practices and innovative approaches to ensure full and productive employment and decent work for all. Member states with ministerial level representation are encouraged to consider participation in the ministerial forum panel. Second, a high-level panel discussion on the fourth review and the appraisal of the Madrid Plan of Action on Aging, MEPA, will take place on the morning of Wednesday, February 8th. As the second World Assembly on Aging approaches its 20-year milestone, the fourth review and the appraisal of the implementation of MEPA provides a unique opportunity to generate renewed momentum for international action to advance the aging agenda. The panel will provide more information from a regional perspective and capture expertise and recent experiences. Third, a panel discussion on the emerging issues of addressing the social impacts of multifaceted crisis to accelerate recovery from the lingering effects of the pandemic through the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development will be held in the afternoon of Wednesday, February 8th. The panel will draw upon lessons learned during the pandemic and identifying common challenges to getting back on track towards the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda. The Secretary General's note on the emerging issues will be, will be issued as document E/CN.5/2023/4. Fourth, an interactive dialogue with senior officials of the United Nations system on the priority theme will be held on the morning of Thursday, February 9th. Relevant UN entities will present key messages and recommendations from recent publications, including effective policies and strategies, common challenges, and lessons learned on addressing inequality in the labor market. Fifth, a multi-stakeholder forum dedicated to sharing solutions on the priority theme will be held on the afternoon of Thursday, February 9th. The discussion will focus on practical examples from different stakeholders to create decent work opportunities for all to reduce inequality. Of course, more detailed information on the panelists and moderators for the interactive discussions scheduled during the session will be provided shortly by the Director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development. In order to ensure a meaningful and interactive discussion during the Commission, I urge you to advise your delegations to avoid reading out prepared statements during the interactive dialogues of the panel discussions. We should come prepared to interact and respond to suggestions made, propose new and innovative ideas, and share our experiences so that we can draw upon good practices and lessons learned in these sessions. As in the past, there will be no pre-established list of speakers for the panel discussions. Every effort will be made to accommodate ministers and vice ministers first, and delegations are encouraged to inform the Secretariat in the room on the day of the meeting if any ministers, vice ministers are interested to intervene in the respective panel discussions. Interventions from the floor should be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Dear colleagues, I would like also to note that under sub-item B of item 4 of the provisional agenda, the Commission will have before it notes by the Secretary General on the nomination of members of the board of the United Nations Research Institute for Social Development and transmitting the report of the board contained in document E/CN.5/2023/7 and 2023/8, respectively. The Commission will be called upon to nominate 4 members of the board of the Institute for confirmation by the Economic Social Council as contained in E/CN.5/2023/7. Turning to the general discussion, the Bureau proposes to hold a joint general discussion of sub-item A and B of agenda item 3, as was done in previous sessions, in order to rationalize the work of the Commission. Delegations will be invited to inscribe under both sub-items for one statement, which may be shared among several members of the same delegation if desirable. The Commission will begin the joint general discussion of sub-items A and B of agenda item 3 on the morning of Monday, February 6, following the opening. The general discussion will continue on the afternoon of Tuesday, February 7th, and will resume on the afternoon of Friday, February 10th. Speakers in the joint general discussion will also be heard on the morning of Monday, February 13th, immediately following the consideration of Agenda Item 4 as a whole. The joint discussion will conclude on the afternoon of Monday, February 13th. The proposed time limits for the statements are 12 minutes for delegations speaking on behalf of groups of states and 7 minutes for individual delegations, 5 minutes for intergovernmental organizations and UN system, and 3 minutes for non-governmental organizations in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. The item allocated for the general discussion on the draft program of work is based on these time limits and on the number of statements delivered during recent sessions. A digital timekeeping device will be used during the statements of the general discussion to help keep the program on track. Colleagues, on organizational aspects, of course, delegations are kindly requested to inform the Secretariat of any accessibility requirements of delegates in order to facilitate participation in meetings. Adjustments may be made to seating arrangements to enable the participation of persons with disabilities in keeping with the General Assembly Resolution 73/341. Please note that inscription in the list of speakers for Agenda Item 3, A and B, will open on Monday, January 16th at 10 a.m. Delegations wishing to inscribe on the list of speakers under sub-item A and B of Agenda Item 3 will be invited to do so by using the e-speakers module on the e-delegate platform. As per established practice, the list will be prepared on a first-come, first-served basis with priority given according to UN protocol. More details on how to inscribe on the list of speakers is provided in the journal under forthcoming meetings. The Bureau encourages, of course, general discussion statements to be delivered in person. Whenever possible, delegations may submit a pre-recorded video message for the general discussion if needed. Technical information on submitting pre-recorded video messages will be circulated by the Secretariat shortly. As earlier announced, all interactive dialogues following the panel discussions will not have a pre-established list of speakers, as we explained earlier. Delegations are reminded to press the microphone button in order to request for the floor in these particular sessions and dialogues. The list of participants will also be processed based on the submissions by delegations via the e-participations on e-delegate, similar to previous years. Relevant information can also be found in the journal announcement of the session. Regarding access to the e-delegate platform, please note that those delegates who were subscribed to last year's session of the Commission and the e-delegate will have continued access for the 61st session. Those who are new to the Commission will need to contact the access administrators in their own respective missions to request access to the Commission's page in e-delegate. I would like to encourage delegations to arrange for access as early as possible so that they can take advantage of all announcements, including the circulation of the zero drafts of draft resolutions by facilitators. And of course, for any questions regarding the e-delegate, you can contact the Secretariat. Of course, on e-statement submissions, in order to ensure proper interpretation, all statements delivered in the Commission must be sent to the e-statement at un.org well in advance and at least 2 hours in advance of delivery. Statements submitted to that particular email will be available on the UN journal. In relation to draft resolutions, I would like to inform delegations that the Commission this year is expected to take action on the following 5 draft resolutions during the session. First, the priority theme. Secondly, the social dimension of the new Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD. Third, future organization and the methods of work for the Commission. Fourth, the review and appraisal of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. And fifth, the policies and programs involving youth. I will, of course, as chair of the Commission, facilitate the draft resolution on the priority theme. The draft resolution on the social dimensions of NEPAD will be coordinated by the Vice Chair of Zambia and will be facilitated by the G77 in China. The responsibility for and the facilitation of draft resolution on the future organization and methods of work of the Commission will be undertaken by the Vice Chair of Israel. Responsibility for and the facilitation of the draft resolution on aging will be undertaken by the Vice Chair of Costa Rica. The draft resolution on youth will be coordinated by the Vice Chair of Israel, and the facilitation of the draft resolution will be undertaken by the representatives of Cape Verde, Kazakhstan, Portugal, and Senegal. Informal consultations on the zero draft texts are expected to begin as soon as next week. Additional information, including the schedule of informal consultations, will be, of course, circulated through e-delegate. The deadline for the submission of draft proposal to the Secretariat is 3 p.m. on Wednesday of February 8th. And in accordance with the established practice, any revisions requested after the submission deadline should be made orally at the formal meeting before action on the respective draft resolutions and will be incorporated into the final versions of the text contained in the report of the Commission on its 61st session. Colleagues, regarding the membership of the Bureau, and as the session is fast approaching, let me take this opportunity to urge any regional group that has not yet sent its nomination to the Bureau to do so at the earliest possible time. A fully constituted Bureau is vital to ensuring its representative nature and efficient functioning during the session. Additionally, on February 15th, directly following the closure of the 61st session, the opening of the 62nd session will be held for the purpose of electing the next Bureau. I would encourage, of course, regional groups to put forward nominations for the Bureau of the 62nd session as soon as possible so that the Bureau can begin its work for the next session in a timely manner. And of course, in line with the practice of regional rotation established for the Commission, the chair of the 62nd session will be from among the members of the Group of Asia Pacific Group states. I now give the floor to Ms. Daniela Bas, of course, Director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Please, Daniela, the floor is yours.
Okay, I think I am unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Daniela.
Thank you very much. Technology. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and delegates. I would like to benefit also the help of my colleague Simon, who will show the slides. So this is the title of the Commission, as we know, 61st session, focusing on SDG 8, that is how employment can help to overcome and reduce the gap of inequalities. Next, please. So as you may see here, we summarized with slides what Her Excellency Ambassador Tahini Alya already explained in terms of substance. The opening and closing sessions, as you may see, have been are already organized with the speakers who are going to open the various the opening session of the Commission in person in conference room 4. There is the interpretation, live webcast, and closed captioning to be as much accessible as possible, as already the chair of the Bureau said earlier on, in terms of accessibility, also for those who might have some sensory impairments. The president of the ECOSOC will be attending. As for the president of the General Assembly and the UN Secretary General, they have been invited, but the UN Secretary General won't be able to be in person. He has delegated the Under Secretary General of UNDESA to represent him. We also have representatives of the civil society and of the youth. Important to just remind everyone that the Commission starts on the 6th of February and it will end on the 15th of February. Of course, interpretation will be provided in the 6 UN official languages, plus, as I said, closed captioning. Next. So here you can see that we also have the 6 high-level panels. I will not repeat what the ambassador already said, but we might have a glance at it a bit deeper in the following slides. And of course, there is also then the Civil Society Forum that is going to be held in person on the 10th of February from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So the whole day. The focus will be, of course, on the priority theme of the Commission. And it will also focus on working towards concrete solutions for marginalized youth who are facing unemployment, as well as challenging the dominant economic paradigm, ensuring that social protection and just transition in the world is at work. Next, please. Simon, thank you. So here we have this is this is Monday, the first day. Yes, Monday the 6th. We have as I said, these various panels and drawing on research and national experiences. The high-level panel discussion will seek to identify effective policies to create full and productive employment and decent work as a way to overcome inequalities. And the discussions will focus on policies and strategies that have proven to be successful in creating more inclusive, equitable, and adaptable labor markets at the global, regional, and national levels, of course. And the discussions will also try to look for policies that create employment and decent work in new, sustainable, and growing sectors to overcome inequalities. So that's going to be, in my view, quite interesting. The high-level panel discussion on the priority theme will be chaired by the chair of the Commission, who will open the session, and then after brief remarks, we'll introduce keynote speakers. So these are some of the things I wanted to highlight about the morning of the 6th of the February. Next, please. So the second day, Tuesday the 7th, we have the Ministerial Forum on the priority theme. The objective of this Ministerial Forum is to facilitate the exchange of national and regional good practices and innovative approaches for creating full and productive employment and decent work for all, as a way of overcoming, as we said, inequalities, to accelerate recovery after or post the COVID-19 pandemic, although there are still, we're still in a phase of recovery, actually, and also the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So the discussions actually will focus on national good practices, implementing successful policies and strategies for creating more inclusive, equitable, adaptable labor markets, as well as policies that seek to create employment and decent work in a new sustainable and growing sectors. I think that the forum aims really to promote innovation in strategies and policies to leverage inclusive labor markets and create employment and decent work opportunities to reduce inequalities. Next, please. Then we have the high-level panel discussion on the 4th review and appraisal of the Madrid Plan of Action on Aging. Well, the objective of this high-level panel is to provide more information from a regional perspective that could be shared in the report of the Secretary General on the implementation of MIPAD, and also to stimulate an interactive discussion and facilitate an open exchange of views between all participants, including member states and non-governmental organizations. So the aim is to position MIPAD. The aim is to position MIPAD as relevant and forward-looking at 20. So it provides a solid foundation to bring about the far-reaching social, economic, and environmental and political changes that are needed to fully ensure the enjoyment of human rights also and development of older persons. And it's very critical because MIPAD represents a moment to raise the ambition and the urgency needed to leapfrog from business as usual to injecting political will that regenerates communities, leverage policy and legislative change, and optimizes resources and maximizes deliverables for older persons. Next, please. So here we can see a representation also by using graphics of the forward-looking at 20. So by looking at the cycle, and the forum, as you might see here, shows, and the slide shows that against the background of a devastating COVID-19 pandemic that directly or indirectly cost the lives of over 12 million older persons in 24 months, with more than half living in lower middle income countries. And 4 out of 7 member states participated in the 4th review and appraisal cycle, representing 84% of where older persons reside worldwide. So very interesting. Let's move now to slide 8. So, and this is just to show you how much the United Nations regional commissions played a critical role in supporting the MIPAD review and appraisal exercise. We really worked very closely together as united as a system, and they facilitate the intra-regional cooperation as well, and provided regional fora and undertook regional reviews. So this ensures that the outcomes of intergovernmental processes at the regional level inform the global review at the end of each cycle. Thank you. Next. Then the third day, we have the emerging issues, the panel discussion of the emerging issues, and the objective of the panel is to share national experiences and identify policies and measures that have proven to be effective in addressing poverty, inequality, and the other social impacts of the multiple crises. So this panel will also draw upon lessons learned during the pandemic and identify common challenges to getting back on track towards the full implementation of the 2030 agenda. And the outcome of the panel discussion will be a unique contribution to the 23rd high-level political forum, and of course, the ECOSOC high-level segment. Next, please. So we move now to the 4th day, and the interactive dialogue with the senior officials of the UN system. In these slides will be shared with everyone. So I will just add something now that might not be contained in the slide. That is, the main objective of the interactive dialogue is to link the Commission's work with the regional and the national actions for enhancing coordination and strengthen policy coherence. So by inviting the UN regional commissions and the relevant UN organizations, the dialogue aims to further strengthen policy coherence to promote the creation of a full and productive employment and decent work for all approach, and also assist member states to overcome inequalities, so to accelerate the recovery from COVID-19 pandemic and many other crises that the world will be facing, as we know, as well as to implement the 2030 agenda. So in a nutshell, this interactive dialogue aims to highlight current trends, good practices, innovative approaches, and lessons learned. So to identify common challenges across regions, promote linkages between regional strategies and global normative frameworks. Thank you. Next, please. Here we have the multi-stakeholder forum, sharing solutions. And this will engage stakeholders that come from different areas of work, member states, intergovernmental NGOs, non-governmental organizations, private sector, academia, and so on. So the forum will identify opportunities and lessons learned, good practices, and again, innovative approaches to create full and productive employment and decent work for all, to overcome inequalities and achieve an inclusive and resilient recovery. So this forum aims to focus on practical, pragmatic, operational solutions from different stakeholders to combat poverty and inequalities. Next, please. The Madam Chair already listed the 5 Secretary General reports and notes that will be presented to the Commission for Social Development. So you see them listed also in this slide. We have NEPAD, we have the report of creating full and productive employment and decent work for all as a way to overcome inequalities, the policies and programs involving youth, the forum review and appraisal of the Madrid Plan of Action on Aging 2002, and the preparations for and observance of the 30th anniversary of the International Year of the Family. Next, please. Madam Chair already highlighted how important it is to make sure that the Commission and its works and the venue are fully accessible to the maximum possible extent, also to delegates or other stakeholders who are going to attend it and may have some form of disabilities, either sensory or physical and so on. So it is very, very important, please, to inform the Secretariat in advance if there are delegates with disabilities that require support. Please do also explain what kind of disability, because the support then is going to be tailored depending on that. Now, we would suggest a deadline of the 30th of January by noon in order to be able to organize things properly. But of course, if there are changes at the last moment, just let us know and we will do the best we can to accommodate the needs. Please contact the UN Accessibility Center and they will take care of this aspect of the works. Thank you. 14th now, the next slide. So here we have the mentioning the side events. As you may see, there are something like 50 and more side events. They can be in hybrid format and in person, and they will cover a range of relevant topics. So all delegations, of course, are invited to attend. Information on side events is available on the CSocD61 website, and there you have the link, social.un.org/CSocD. I would like just to mention the fact that the division I have the honor to lead will organize or co-organize in partnership 5 side events on the topics of the impact of frontier technologies on employment and the implication for inclusive development and international cooperation. This is in partnership with UNDESA. Second one on corporations, cooperatives, and the 2030 agenda, UNDESA and COPAC. We will also invite the private sector to see how enterprises that are, if you wish, social enterprises and private enterprises actually can find a common ground to work together. Then we have the third one, organized with the permanent mission of Germany to the UN and UNEC, that is MIPAD at 20. So fit for the future, that's the question. And MIPAD at 20 is fit for the future. So we really want to underline that. Fourth, organized by us, fourth event, is prioritizing the rights of older persons for decent work, productive employment, and full participation in society. So this is organized with a group of friends of older persons, UNDESA, the NGO Committee on Aging, and of course the regional commissions. And the last one, the fifth one, is about the role of family science in sustainable development. So how family scientists are helping to overcome inequalities, to accelerate the recovery from the pandemic, and to fully implement the 2030 agenda. So this is organized by, together with the International Federation for Family Development. And next, please. So here we have information about the conclusion of the session. Immediately after the official conclusion of CSocD61, CSocD62 will start for the purpose of electing its officers. The deadline for submissions of draft proposals is Wednesday, the 8th of February at 3 p.m. And the deadline for inscriptions for the list of speakers on e-delegates closes on Tuesday, the 7th of February at 6 p.m. I think that with all this information, I thank you. As I said, these slides will be made available to all delegates. It proved to be successful, and actually when we started this practice only a few years ago, delegates said that it was extremely helpful. So I hope that also this year it will help you to go through this very important commission. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bas, for this very informative presentation, and would like now to open the floor to delegations wishing to make comments and pose questions. And I have before me a request from the representative of the European Union. Please, you have the floor. We can't hear you, please. You can unmute. We can't hear you. Can we, okay, we will come back to the representative of the European Union. I would like now to give the floor to the chair of the NGO Committee on Social Development, Ms. Jean Gwyn. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you indeed, Ambassador Al-Thani, for organising this session this morning. And of course, Ms. Daniela Bas, a good friend of the NGO community, and the excellent presentations from you both. We, the NGO committee, are very much looking forward to the CSocD61, and actually have put a lot of preparatory work in relation to our declaration and the Civil Society Forum on February the 10th. And we look forward to you both joining us at this opening session. As we are at the start of 2023, we feel the window closing for the achievement of the development goals. The 2030 agenda has only 7 years to reach the important milestone set in 2015 and to achieve the pivotal goal of the eradication of poverty. Of particular concern to us is the growing social and economic inequality, growing hunger, economic disruptions we all face. Additionally, every part of the globe has been affected by the environmental disasters, massive migration of peoples, shift in the digital economy, and the threat of nuclear war in the Ukraine. There are multiple causes, but certainly COVID-19 global pandemic has unraveled progress that was made in the last decade and revealed crevices in the foundational progress of the SDGs. Most importantly for us, it's the people living in poverty who continue to suffer and whose lives are mostly devastated by these events. However, we are people of hope, and we know there are hopeful signs that the United Nations will lead us forward to a better world for all of us. This hope is supported by our Common Agenda report from the Secretary General in 2021, calling for a renewal of the social contract, so as to rebuild trust and embrace comprehensive vision of human rights. And of course, the movement towards a World Social Summit in 2025. We in the NGO community are buoyed by the focus on SDG 8 and SDG 10 for the priority theme for this commission. As representatives of people who are lost and left out in our world, we recall Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which declares that everyone has the right to work, to free choices of employment, to just and favourable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Against this backdrop, we are pleased to share with you our civil society declaration, which is currently open for signatures and circulation. Importantly, the NGO Committee on Social Development's Civil Society Declaration not only addresses the issues related to CSocD61 that I previously mentioned, but also highlights civil society's commitment to building upon the fundamental principles of the Copenhagen Declaration. In our call to action, we share tangible and cross-cutting recommendations that can make our vision of a world of true prosperity without poverty, inclusion, and justice for all a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gwen. Is the representative of the European Union ready to speak? If not, I would like to give the floor to the representative of Bolivia. Please, you have the floor. The representative of Bolivia. Okay, so checking again if the EU is ready to speak. Just checking with the Secretariat about the situation. I believe that there are some technical issues, so maybe we can just wait for a brief moment and resume the discussion. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we're very sorry about these technical issues. Anyhow, this shows that we have to be resilient with technology. So I wanted to wish to all Happy New Year as well. And thank you, Mrs. Chair, as well as all the members of the Bureau, the Secretariat, UNDESA, Ms. Daniela Bas, for for this presentation and to express the constructive engagement of the European Union and its member states in the preparatory work and the upcoming deliberations to work jointly towards a useful outcome of this session. And as we said last time, the EU is committed to shaping the global agenda on decent work and promoting a human-centered future of work to champion human rights, including the well-being of all workers both at home and abroad. I'm not going to go into a statement type because I think we will have the possibility to do that. But I have some questions which are logistical as well, nature, and I will start with the first one. You said that the meeting will be taking place in person. However, we heard today for the first time that statements could also be recorded. So my question is the following. Are you going to apply the same also for the panels? Because this is something new for this information, so we understand that for the general discussion this is possible. But what about the panels? And we would like also to ask what are the conditions you have envisaged to facilitate cross-regional representation in the panels? That's the first question. The second question we have is regarding the youth participation. Last time also we mentioned that, and we are very keen to hear a little bit more. The EU member states youth representatives are present each year. The last 2 years they were virtual presentation, but they are eager to engage more on economic and social rights issues. So what are the deadlines for inviting youth? What is the program that you have created for them? And if you have also any first idea of numbers of who is coming, who is participating, and finally, if there is any intention to involve the newly created UN Youth Office. And moving to two additional questions, which are not of a logistical nature, but we heard you that the linkages with the high-level political forum and the SDGs is an important one. And we know that this is also one of the ideas of the renew of the Commission for Social Development to make the linkages better. Could you elaborate how you see the outcome of the resolutions and deliberations concretely reflected in the future high-level political forum and how the Bureau plans to facilitate these links? And another question that we have asked last time, but still is important because there is a discussion for the SDG summit at the moment. So how do you see the outcome of the session being really reflected in the 2023 SDG summit? And how you see the input of these discussions and deliberations in this respect. I think I will stop here, thanking all for the hard work, and looking forward for the beginning of the Commission for Social Development and your work. Thank you very much, and I apologize for the technical issues.
Thank you very much. I would like now to give the floor to the representative of Turkey. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Director, for the insightful information you have provided. I have two questions. We heard that there won't be any pre-established list for the panels, list of speakers for the panels. Could you give some more information about
sudah ke tahap substansi Pak Waka, Pak Dewata, dan Mbak Ira.
About on how this will work for the ministerial forum. An overall scenario will be really helpful. And also, I heard from Madam Director mentioning the side events organized by UNDESA with other countries and other entities. I was wondering if there will be any specific side events focusing on disabilities under the agenda item 3B. That will be all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I don't see any further requests from the floor. And this, I would like to go back to Ms. Daniela and Ms. Rachel to address some of the questions posed. Please, you have the floor.
Me. I think that I am muted. Yes. Thank you so much. Many questions from the European Union, so I hope I will be able to provide most of the information, at least based on my knowledge. And one was related to youth. So as per usual, there will be a representative of youth and the opening of the Commission for Social Development. So that's one. As far as it comes to youth delegates, this is up to member states to decide how they want to utilize their best their delegates. The fact that they are young is one issue, but they are delegates. And so this is up to the capital and the permanent missions and so on. I don't know how this is done, but they are delegates coming to represent a country. So this is up to you to decide how your delegates who are young are going to contribute to the success of the Commission. So this is in a nutshell about youth, I think. When it comes to the outcome of the Commission for Social Development, I think that maybe the chair might be in a better position to answer, but I believe that since it focuses on two very important SDGs, and the high-level political forum will review in a certain way how the various SDGs are helping to overcome the various crises the world is facing, particularly looking forward and building new ways of overcoming crises like the one posed by the pandemic. SDG 8 and SDG 10 will play a key role as contribution of the Commission to the high-level political forum. But as I said, I think that maybe the Bureau might be in a better position to provide more political, if you wish, and sensitive information about it. And the same, therefore, applies to the SDG Summit in September. These two SDGs are key because they promote the well-being of people. And after all, the works of the United Nations are to promote a better future for all and the well-being of human beings and people and the planet. When it comes to employment, for instance, employment is created by industries and else. So that has also an impact on the environment. So it's not just the employment of people, but creating employment and looking at new ways and innovative ways. And that's one of the topics of the Commission, to look at strategies that work and innovative ways, even to implement all the things that maybe did not work because the strategies were not appropriate, but the objectives and the policies behind them were good. So this will be part of the conversation in the Commission. And that will have an impact also on future jobs, such as, for instance, green jobs and the environment. So it's very comprehensive. It's not just labor and work and inequalities. It's inequalities and work that covers the economy, the social, the environmental, the cultural, the political aspects and dimensions. So I think that this is the intent of the Bureau in leading this Commission this year. Turkey, the representative of Turkey when it comes to events and persons with disabilities. I mean, this question touches also my heart, being myself a person with a disability, paraplegic, using a wheelchair since I was 6 years old. But I can tell you that in some of the events that we as division are organizing, particularly the one I mentioned of cooperatives together with also the private sector, etc., due attention is going to be given to equity and accessible working environments for all. And I underline for all. You might know that on the 5th of December, because the 3rd of December last year, it was a weekend, the division organized an event where also the chair, Madam Chair, attended the event to celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And the focus was SDG 8 and SDG 10 to contribute also with the outcomes of this event to the Commission for Social Development. So it was not done by chance. It was chosen on purpose. And I'm very glad to inform you that there were something like 1,000 participants. 1,000 participants is a big number. It shows that this issue, employment, reducing the gap of inequalities and persons with disabilities in an aging world where many people might acquire also disabling conditions, and in a world where there are, man-made disasters, wars and conflicts, and natural disasters, more and more people, unfortunately, might acquire disabilities. So in different ways, this topic is this social group is going to be covered. I hope that this answer provided you some information that you were looking for to both delegates. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Rachel, do you have any? Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, and thank you to the delegates, for the distinguished delegates, for the questions. To the European Union's question on pre-recorded video statements, the Bureau did recently receive a request from a delegation for pre-recorded video statements. So while yes, the session is thankfully back to being in person, it is possible, if necessary, that delegations do submit a pre-recorded video for the general discussion. The technical details about how to submit the pre-recorded video statement will be shared through eDelegate later today. But when it comes to the panel discussions, well, firstly, there was no request for pre-recorded videos for the panel discussions, but also given the interactive nature of the panel discussions, it's generally not recommended that there would be pre-recorded video statements. As Madam Chair mentioned, it's recommended to sort of be able to respond to what is said and not have pre-written statements. Thank you. And then to the distinguished delegate of Turkey for the ministerial panel, there is no pre-established list of speakers. However, if you do have a minister who's going to participate, please come and let the Secretariat colleagues know in the room so that priority can be given to ministers for the interactive segment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And dear colleagues, I don't see any further requests from the floor, so I'd like to thank you very much for your participation and engagement. I would like to thank Ms. Daniela Bas and Ms. Rachel for their informative responses. And in this, I would like to mention that of course, we're very looking forward to working with you in the lead up to the work of the Commission, and the informal briefing is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.